So here we have, I think almost a century of Bitcoin years. If we add together, it's like, so the first thing is like, we have all old-timers, OGs as they call them, old gangsters. I think Nick definitely is an old gangster. I don't know the rest, but
we should start how old we are, no?
I was not counting you, Rodolfo, because then you skew the statistics. But so the first thing is like for all of you, this is people who has been in Bitcoin for, I don't know, forever, like 2011, I don't know, even more. So the first thing I will ask each one of you is like, what brought you to Bitcoin? When you got into Bitcoin, what brought you to Bitcoin for the first time? So I want to learn a little bit about that, the backstory of how you got in Bitcoin, what interested you to get into Bitcoin. So, Rodolfo, you can start, be brief.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was in Bitcoin 1997. I had a project called bitcoins.com, World Wide Web eCash. And in the year 2000, I registered the domain. And in the year 2011, someone wanted to buy the domain from me. Actually, even before, the fact is that I lost the access to the platform where I placed the domain. So when I gained access, I had like over 40 people asking me to buy the domain. And since then, I started understanding what Bitcoin was and what did I have in my hands. And since 2011, I'm in the space.
And I mean, okay, so basically you were the owner of bitcoins.com, and that brought you into Bitcoin without knowing where you were getting into,
yes,
no?
Trying to understand what I had, no? I mean, and how much time I had to negotiate also.
Yeah. So you were understanding the value of what you had.
Yeah. So
you invented Bitcoins with an S. Bitcoins is your invention. Another Satoshi.
No, but I did create the name way before Satoshi Nakamoto. That's for sure.
That's what I mean. So, Nick, please.
I was in politics, and I did political data, and I worked for Dr. Ron Paul. Let's give Ron Paul a hand. And he taught us about competing currencies, always spoke about competing currencies. And I ended up back in New York City because I was in real estate at one time, and I lost all my money because the stock market crashed in '87, and I became a commercial fisherman. And then I saw on TV that the Federal Reserve, it was the Federal Reserve's fault, and I didn't even know what it was. And then I became a libertarian. That was 1991. I went to New York to destroy the Federal Reserve in 1991. And then I met up with Ron Paul, and when Bitcoin, the first time I saw the paper was at Valley Forge. There was a Ron Paul event at Valley Forge. I think it was late 2009, but I didn't think it would work because I wasn't thinking decentralized. I thought it was centralized, and we tried to do escrow payment in '99 and had trouble with that. So I knew about it, but I didn't buy it, mentally nor physically. And then
so it was 2009
that I heard about in December.
Okay.
But I didn't buy it.
You thought it was a centralized thing.
I go, yeah, whatever, because we tried to do something called escrow payment, and in '99 we had all kinds of problems, so I didn't put it in my brain, the decentralization part. And then so in my circles, in the Ron Paul circles, it started getting more and more prevalent, but then there was the miner, right? In 2000, like August, I think, 2010, mined 280 million extra Bitcoin till Todd fixed it in 4 hours. 180 million, yeah, extra Bitcoin. So I was like, fuck that thing. But then, 2011, pretty much 2011 after that.
Pity that
it kept coming back to life.
Yeah, a pity that Peter didn't kept the Bitcoins, no?
Why
he saw that the problem? Yeah, exactly.
Why are you laughing, dude?
So, what about you?
I don't know why I'm sitting here. Rodolfo asked me, but I don't feel like an OG like you guys, and it's an honor to be.
This is the reason, because I didn't ask you with enough time since when you was, yes, but as you do host one of the most prominent Bitcoin events, I said, I want him also on stage. Yeah, so I do whatever I want, and I wanted to host you also here.
Thank you for your trust. And I first time encountered Bitcoin in 2011, actually. I was a part of Occupy Wellington movement. So I was there, I've heard about Bitcoin, I saw the logo, but I didn't get it at all. So the next time I went really in was 2018. So it's 7 years now. So it's some time, but nothing like you guys. And I came for money and I stayed for technology. So pretty usual evolution of Bitcoiner, I would say.
Also a pretty, a recurring theme is like, we don't get it at the first time, no? It's like the same thing as Nick was saying. It's like all of us don't get it at the first time. So it takes time, no? Bitcoin is a complex beast to understand, so it takes time to understand.
Yeah, it took me probably 2 more years to get to the Bitcoin only thing.
Amazing. Tuur, why you got to Bitcoin and when?
Sure. First of all, I want to say I believe that it's so early still that all of us here are OGs. I think that everybody who has the ability to make a transaction on the main chain is going to be known as an OG, and your grandkids are going to say, like, my granddad, he moved this coin, like it's right here on the blockchain. But so yeah, my story, I learned about Austrian economics in 2005. We got very excited about that. We founded in Belgium, we founded the Rothbard Institute in 2007. We got super excited about the Ron Paul campaign. I remember him announcing it in his living room. And then, let's see, in 2009, I went to London and I saw David Friedman, the son of Milton Friedman, talk about anonymous eCash. And I don't know, I was a gold guy, but I was very worried about Europe and the euro collapsing and the banks collapsing. So I kept looking for answers. And one of the things I did in my research was to travel to Latin America to research how people and entrepreneurs, how they deal with inflation. I wanted to learn. And so it was right here in Buenos Aires in 2011, I learned about Bitcoin, and it's changed my life completely.
I mean, I tried to invent Bitcoin when I was in high school because, like many young teenagers, and I would hope most people in the world, I thought, well, obviously freedom of speech, this seems like a good idea, and I was interested in this thing called the Freenet project, which was a publishing tool to allow freedom of speech publishing. And, that all looked cool, but obviously what use is freedom of speech without freedom of money? I mean, if I want to run a protest, how the hell am I going to go pay for the signs? I mean, how am I going to go pay for my bus tickets to get there? Like, if your ability to transact can be taken away from, freedom of speech is useless. Every single thing you do about freedom of speech, you need money to go do it. And obviously a digital currency, similar in spirit, if you will, to like the Freenet project, would make sense. And of course, I'm famous for talking to Hal Finney and Adam Back on the Blue Sky mailing list, trying to invent Bitcoin. And frankly, as far as I know, we all failed. And no one had any good ideas, myself included. The best I came up with was the kind of obvious idea, well, maybe you might want to chain a digital signatures or something. But that does mean that when I finally saw the Bitcoin white paper in, I think about late 2009, honestly, my reaction was, fuck, I should have thought of that. It's quite opposite, I think, many other people. For me, it was so obvious that Bitcoin could work. It really did not take me any convincing. I read the white paper, thought about it, it was just so obvious. Yeah, that was the solution that I should have thought of years ago. So for my journey, it was actually the opposite. It was only after more reflection and more thinking about the system did I realize, actually, this doesn't work as well as I thought I did. And then that's how I got my name well known, going up against Gavin Andresen in the beginnings of the block size war, saying Gavin Andresen's scaling ideas were stupid. if I hadn't done that, I mean, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. But I like arguing with people on the internet.
Nice. Thank you, Peter. So,
Yeah.
my
So sorry to be late. First of all, my name is Mai from Japan, and I'm very honored to be here with amazing panelists. So my experience about Bitcoin, I got Bitcoin for the first time was 2011, so early time. So because at that time, the same year of the very big earthquake happened in Japan and the tsunami as well. And I tried to create a donation platform, can get a donate from all over the world. But I had no experience about the overseas. That's why I didn't know that, so remittance fee is so high. Then for example, if I get money, I need to pay the bank $50 for fee. Well, I want to use this money for the, how can I say, help the people. But I need to pay fee to bank and very headache and how can I solve this situation? Then at that time, so Roger Ver, maybe you know this guy, Roger.
Roger Ver?
Roger
Yeah, we know.
Ver.
We know
Yeah.
him. Yes.
And,
We do know Roger.
Actually, Roger was in our first LabitConf in 2013.
good.
And I think regardless that he went the way of Bitcoin Cash,
Yeah.
he did so much for the Bitcoin adoption in the early days
Yes,
that
exactly.
I think in my case, I will always be grateful. We used to call him Bitcoin
Yeah.
Jesus back in the day.
Yeah,
so.
back in the day, he was
So-
called Bitcoin Jesus,
Yeah.
and he was lived in Japan. Then my English teacher make an introduction, and Roger didn't know about my. I'm struggling about the remittance fee, but he suddenly talked about the Bitcoin. You can send the money even if from Japan to Argentina, almost no gas, no fee. And what? This is for my donation platform. So that is my first time to get Bitcoin.
So I would like to address a question
you.
to those who have been very early. Yes,
Thank you.
Peter. One of the things that usually happens to me is that if someone today asks you, yes, when you came in, and you say, well, in 2011, oh, okay, but they don't understand the landscape of 2011. They try to understand through the actual landscape or through their knowledge of how it is understanding Bitcoin, yes? But we have absolutely no tools to understand in an easy way Bitcoin, yes? So being early is like an extremely more effort process, yes, than being today, which is yet early, yes, but the way of understanding Bitcoin was even harder. But beyond this difference, yes, there is a second aspect of understanding. It's not only understanding, but it's believing, yes? And believing today in Bitcoin is way easier than believing in Bitcoin back then, yes? And you said, I read the paper 2009, and I said, oh, well, no, I should have thought in this. This is the solution, yes? And if you say this is the solution, it's because you believed this is the solution. But for believing this was the solution, you should believe that no one would understand Bitcoin quicker than the cyberpunk community and try to attack Bitcoin with more power or hashing power. I mean, we've been in a process of, now it's very hard to attack it, but if someone would have known this way before, if someone would have liked to attack, if it happens to new coins, yes, there can be easily attacked. So Bitcoin could have been easily attacked, and believing that this would not happen, it's way more difficult back then than today.
Yeah,
so
it was a big leap of faith. I think early, I agree. I think all the early adopters or visionaries have made that leap of faith. And it's interesting because Bitcoin was very fragile in those days. It's like 2011, 2010, forget about it. Even 2013, it was still very fragile, very easy to defeat and to destroy. And we know now today is a force that can be it's unstoppable. No, it's like it's almost impossible to stop Bitcoin in its current form. But it was an evolutionary process and something like, of course, we need to keep fighting. I don't think it's like just we need to be comfortably numb and saying, yeah. But it's like, but conceptually, it's like going through that fragility, chugging along, devoting our time, our effort to something that could have been attacked and destroyed. It was a big leap of faith, and you know, in the sense of like, yeah, we want this to be strong enough, you know, that it won't be easily defeated, but it might happen, no?
Peter, you being the earliest one here, yes, back in 2008. What did you thought? I mean, what made you believe and do this leap of faith in the process?
I mean, I think it's a very simple thing. It's just there was a plausible path where Bitcoin got lucky. And it was plausible, so it was obviously worth, you know, paying some attention to. But, you know, I personally, it's not like I invested all my life savings in or anything like that. You know, what I mainly did was just go work on it and, you know, understand it better and pay some attention. Because after all, when I first learned about 2009, but I didn't like work on it till probably 2012 or so. And I was busy with school and work at the time. And, you know, it took me a while to get more active. But by the time it's like 2012 probably, I forget exactly when it was, but I remember like one day how we kind of realized, oh, you know what? The market cap of Bitcoin is like $1 million. You know, this is getting to be money where not just any old Joe can do a 51% attack. You know, we're kind of ramping up the level of attacker, and the sort of people who might go do this just gets a smaller and smaller and smaller group. But also I think early on there was this recognition that, well, you know, even if it does get attacked, at that size, there's all kinds of things you can go do to bypass an attack. Well, I mean, you can add digital signatures to it, for instance. Like, you can temporarily have a block cartel or things like that. So there are games that could be played, and I think the knowledge that that could happen did help discourage people from attacking. However, if you had Bitcoin die tomorrow, I am not convinced you could restart proof of work. You know, now that we have everyone gunning to go kill it, I do not think we get a second chance with Bitcoin. I think we have to make Bitcoin work.
Absolutely. Agree.
My following question will be, oh, Tuur, please, you want to say something, or?
Well, I guess I was just thinking about the early days, and I'm not a technologist, I'm not an engineer, and so I really had to kind of learn about Bitcoin by trying to read people. And my impression of the people at, for example, the London Bitcoin conference I went to in 2012 was that compared to the general population, these people were extremely intelligent, extremely honest, and also extremely paranoid. And so basically I could ask them whatever question I wanted, but it was my own struggle with which questions do I need to ask? And so in a way it was a very pure environment. It was like white snow, you know. It was really, really incredible to be in, and they didn't care about money at all in terms of monetary value or investing. There was nobody there who was like an analyst or an investor or anything like that. It was just some hackers, you know. And so it always stuck with me that like it's up to me to figure out what are the right questions to ask.
Yeah, I think we discussed this with Rodolfo many times. I think one of the things we enjoyed the most and was, I mean, keeping us on the game for a long time was the people. Like, you could not, I mean, you might not agree with many of the people in the space, but they were always brilliant. The conversations were always amazing. So that kept us like energized through the ups and downs as well. Like seeing the community, and a lot of that community is here, is around us. It's like people who has been in the space for 11, 10 years with us, like building the community. And I think that's one of the most beautiful and magnificent things in Bitcoin as well, no?
I mean, as one of the sort of paranoid people you probably would have talked to, for me it's sort of almost like the exact opposite experience. It's like, the people in the community, yeah, it matters in some sense, but the whole purpose of this technology is I don't need to trust you. So, the honesty of other people, we very early on built systems to try to avoid having to trust honesty. This is why Bitcoin is one of the earliest pieces, Bitcoin Core specifically is one of the earliest pieces of software to adopt multi-party compilation, where more than one person compiles the software and we verify that the builds match. And that's precisely because I don't want to go trust how trustworthy you are in releasing the software.
But I think Peter,
I want three guys to run.
Yeah, but Peter, I think one thing is like what you're saying is about the nature of Bitcoin. What I think Tuur was saying is about like if you see a lot of smart, committed people with that engaging and devoting their time to something, that is like an emerging, it's like a consequence. It's not the source, but it's a consequence that something must be special.
Well, maybe they like to find the middle ground is that I could also put it that these were people who were extremely evidence-oriented. So like, you're just saying like, hey, look at the evidence, but you're explaining it to me, and the fact that you're always pointing at evidence and all you guys are doing that together with all these forum posts and everything, it just made it be like pretty obvious that yeah, I don't have to trust you, but there's 20 guys like you who will, come to the same conclusion. So, and that's pretty rare in the general population for people to be so. Sometimes people say it pejoratively, like, "Oh, they're a bunch of autists" or something. But it's extremely evidence-oriented.
Yes.
I think it's a real virtue.
And sorry, code. I would disagree a bit with Peter. Code is just the story. Yes, what I read here, the code today, yes, is what you did. But I can't, because of the code, understand what you will do. Yes, I can't build my idea of what will you be doing. Though if I meet you, and if I know you, and I believe, and I understand your values, and I understand how you are, how do you think, what do you think, and I understand you as a coder. Yes, you are a coder, but I know who you are in person. Yes, I can build and create my beliefs based on, given he is this kind of person, perhaps if he needs to do a change of code, he will do this kind of change of codes. But the code is just stale, yes, and knowing people, yes, adds the possibility of making a jump of faith of what will these people do in the next future occasion, no?
But see, I think this is a big difference between me and you. You go walk into this not understanding the code and having to rely on the people. I walk into this understanding the code, thinking about the mathematical implications and the game theory, and saying, well, regardless of what the people may believe, this is what their incentives are. And that's what's so powerful about Bitcoin. I mean, that's what convinced me so early on. This obviously can work. Because you read the white paper and you think through the incentives, like, yeah, I don't need to trust anyone. I don't need them to be reliable. I don't need them to have a particular culture. Mathematically, this is what these incentives are, and it would take a lot to break this. It's not impossible, but it would take a lot.
Nick, you want to say something, or?
And the conversation moved on, but my path was, I remember that, I threw my whole life behind promoting libertarian candidates and candidates that were against the Federal Reserve. And we kept losing because they had unlimited media time and just totally destroyed, since 1991, I worked 20 years, and I was saying to myself, Nick, you threw your life away. You chased away everyone that loved you. You cursed everybody out. You're like this Don Quixote chasing the fucking windmills against this monolithic behemoth fucking monster, octopus, the Federal Reserve, and you did nothing. You made a hole in the water, and you did nothing. Your candidates, when you get close, they destroy them in the press, and you got nothing, and you threw your whole fucking life away, Nick. And I remember walking down the street, and I said, who's the next candidate? And then I heard this fucking guy, one of the economists, talking shit about Bitcoin. He was talking shit about Ron Paul, and I said, motherfucker. Can I curse? I'm cursing a lot.
Yeah, you can curse here. No worries.
All right, good.
You were talking about Paul Krugman? The
I
person
said,
who has the
finally-
foresight of the fax machine future?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Krugman. I said, finally, holy shit, Bitcoin's gonna be my candidate. I said, they can't destroy Bitcoin on election day. I said, finally, I have a weapon against these motherfuckers, and I'm gonna do everything I can. I destroyed the office when I heard this guy. I smashed everything, and I went downtown. I said, I'm gonna go rent a booth at the stock market and sell Bitcoin at the stock market. I went in there, they thought I was crazy, but I made it to the top. And they didn't know what the hell I was talking about. And then I said, fuck it, I'm gonna open my own exchange. I'm gonna go open my exchange right next door. I don't care. I don't know what the hell finance was. I didn't know what the license is. I didn't know anything. I said, oh, look at this space, it's right next door. I'm renting that space, and I'm gonna open my own exchange. And I'm going to show the world what Bitcoin is and what it can do. And I felt better about myself. And I did that. Oh, I had like 10 people said that they were going to help fund it. And none of them, it was just me. Like they wouldn't put, I said what is it called? Co-founder. So just think I had some plausible deniability so I wouldn't get arrested by myself. I say, oh yeah, that guy too. But no one else put up any money. I didn't even know where I was gonna find the fucking money. I was spending like 130. I don't even want to tell you what the deposit was in Bitcoin that I sold. But it was at 5 digits.
Can I just say, I remember very well when you did that, and people, Bitcoiners all around the world were writing about this. Like, hey, there's this guy in New York, and he's doing an in-person exchange. And that's like path-breaking, right? I mean, you really inspired a lot of people. So thank you, Nick.
Ron Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. And you know, that's the beauty of Bitcoin. It's like with Rodolfo, we have been building Bitcoin communities for what, 11, 12 years now?
Yeah, 12 years.
I think that's the beauty of Bitcoin. It's like Bitcoin is what, here, was described, the technological elements, the the don't trust, verify element to it is the code, but also is the faith of a new system, of a new society emerging from that code. It's like a new trust framework, a new trust model for society on a global scale, and I would say without frontiers, because Bitcoin is also the first global settlement, the first system of transfer of value and store of value without boundaries, without frontiers. And this panel, it's also not only about the OGing, but also about how we see this future. It's like how will Bitcoin enable this future? But before we get into that, the next question I want to ask to each one of you is how Bitcoin transformed you. It's like you came to Bitcoin for one reason, whatever that was, what you described. But I want to understand how Bitcoin transformed you, if it transformed you. Maybe, Peter, you say, no, I was already looking for this. I just found it. Just say, fuck it, why I didn't thought about this before? But, whatever. But how Bitcoin transformed your life and who you are as a human being?
Me? Well, in my case, it really changed me, absolutely. From the way I dress onwards, everything. First, it made me think in things that I didn't thought before. Yes, it made me think in concepts that were part of my life, but not as relevant. I mean, the concept of power, of trust, of value, of money, and what they meant for me and for my society, and I started thinking deeper and more philosophically eventually on many concepts, yes, that were part of my daily life, and understanding how much power I had in my hands, yes, if I took some path, how much power it meant for others who were printing money, and so I restarted to think the truth through Bitcoin, yes, the truth that Bitcoin brought into my life, into my understanding, started to change everything. And for example, the reason why I use two-color shoes, yes, is It's because I usually see that everyone uses just one kind of shoe, and it's okay, but that's accepted as okay, yes? And that's like the general truth. It's okay using the same color shoes, yes? But actually, I can beat my own truth, which is, as long as it doesn't takes you wrong, no? I mean, it doesn't make seem wrong, me using two pairs of shoes. I really like how they look. I really like it. And this is an empowerment I got from Bitcoin, from believing that I can believe in something and it can be okay, even if it's not the regular truth for everyone, yes? So this empowerment, this me believing I can change things, yes, it empowered me, it gave me emotion, excitement, and now I want to more people to do the same and to go through the same path. So actually the sole, the main, not the sole reason, yes, the other one is gratitude, but the main reason, or the second main reason for doing what I've done is trying to help more people go through the same path of knowledge and of change of mind. When I say what is Bitcoin, I say it's an opportunity, yes? And Bitcoin is an opportunity for people not to get rich eventually, but it's an opportunity for people to change, yes? And through their change the others, and through changing each other, we will change the world.
Thank you, bro.
Nick. How to change my life, huh?
If he did, maybe you're the same.
No, I'm an activist, right? So I've been in politics for activism, and so like I said, you know, I found a tool against my owners, and when I opened the place up, I wanted to be anonymous, and I fell asleep, but I had some top-notch people that I hired. I hired Bush's former speechwriter who used to work for me before. I hired Facebook's chief data scientist. I had like really top people working for me. I fell asleep that night at the launch party in 2013, and the motherfucker sent a press release with my name all over it that I opened the place up. And
so Bitcoin didn't make you anonymous.
My phone blew up. My phone blew up. And I was like, what the hell? That woke me up. I go, what the hell? What are you doing? And then, you know, everything changed because I was a serial entrepreneur. I had a bunch of tech companies, and I always had a real estate company because the money keeps coming in. And so I had these big giant, I used to sell skyscrapers and stuff, big buildings. And all my billionaire clients are like, what, did you lose your fucking mind, Spano? What the hell? Yeah. Drug dealing money, all of them, every single one of them. I was like, fuck it, I'm out. I'm out of the business. I was making like $1 million a month. And I was like, I'm out of that business. So, how did it change me? I have no idea, but it's been a long trip. And I think I try to not inspire people. I just try to tell them my story, and maybe they can become inspired after they hear that just a regular nobody like me, a big meathead, can help change the world with these guys here. You can do the same. You're doing the same. You just got to keep doing it more often and open and notoriously. We're the ones who are vindicated. Not vindicated, but we're the ones, the clean ones. Those other financial people and financial institutions and those big accounting firms, they're all full of shit. All those pieces of paper are garbage. We're dealing in God's math, and you can't fuck with that.
Yeah, I would say that Bitcoin didn't change me. I'm still the same person as I used to be, but it changed my life. I am doing finally something what I really love, and I'm good. So this brings happiness and joy to my life. I don't work. I work a lot. I spend a lot of time working, but I don't feel like working. And that's something what I would never find somewhere else. And Rodolfo, you said it's Bitcoin is opportunity, and it's also a tool which gives you a chance to encounter a chaos, entropy, and you never know where it will lead you. So I was always like, I was not a geek. I didn't want to have my smartphone. My first smartphone I bought in 2018 because I wanted to try something with Bitcoin. But without Bitcoin, I would probably still have some old Nokia 3210 because I didn't like technology. But with Bitcoin, I needed to learn how to operate technology, and now I feel confident. And I try every time I run my own node, I try eCash. Even though I'm not a very native technology guy, I try it, and it's not so difficult. And if I can do it, everyone can do it.
Yeah, these are tough acts to follow. I would say for me, Bitcoin is something of it's kind of like a personal trainer for my soul. And I mean like in the sense that if you own Bitcoin, all of a sudden your actions, as far as it relates to those Bitcoins, the consequences are either extremely painful or they can be extremely rewarding. Like it's kind of like this pain reward system that's built in, and it's extremely humbling to go through that and to constantly be reminded of your own decisions that you took in the past. And it's been extremely helpful for me to just realize like actually what I do matter, right? It's not, I can just I don't know, there's something really visceral about that I think really changed my character over time. And then the other thing I would say is that just the kind of awareness that I live in a time when this anonymous person wrote some code and put some things together and, you know, made it possible for other people to change the world. It's just impossible for me to look at that and not have an elevated belief in the power of the individual. And I think that actually this is reverberating throughout the world. And I think it's no coincidence that we are in the beginning of something of a cultural renaissance. And I think it has to do with that. Like in some ways we lost the belief in our own abilities as individuals, and Bitcoin is one of the sparks that's reigniting that.
You know, prior to Bitcoin, I actually worked as an analog electronics designer at a geophysics startup. And, you know, I mean, I had to have a security clearance for that job because the things we were building were technically under ITAR regulations. You know, I couldn't go talk to anyone about much in the way of details about my work. The industry I was in, the particular niche I was in with analog electronics, you know, there were times when I would literally use textbooks from the 1920s for reference for my designs, because that's how little that industry had changed for the sort of work I was doing. And it's just, honestly, one of the reasons why I quit that job and went into Bitcoin was I identified really early on, you know, analog electronics is really cool, it's fun, but I will never make an impact on that industry. It's just not going to happen. People far smarter than me have spent far more years trying to understand every single thing you can do with a piece of wire and a resistor. And then in Bitcoin, I go from being in this job where you go sit in a cubicle working with your like tools all day long to, in my case, becoming much more of a politician. Because that's ultimately like what consensus systems are and how they change. They're things that people have consensus over. They're things that people run software for. How do I convince people to run changes to that software? Well, that's actually a political process. You know, I mean, I managed to get the check lock time verify opcode in. That's like 5 lines of code in, 2 years of debate and arguing and lobbying. So for me personally, it's been such a dramatic change going from the sort of work I did now to this dramatically different thing. Yet a lot of the skill sets still apply. I mean, certainly, my understanding of math, I can still go use this, but so much of that is really the knowledge I got actually going through a fine arts degree and realizing how do you communicate ideas to people. And that's really what these conferences are about. They're ultimately about spreading knowledge, communicating ideas, and also, to Tuur's credit there, providing a sort of social legitimacy that lets people evaluate how real is this. You know, is this some scam, or is this something where, you know, well, probably 2,000-3,000 people go show up. Like, it's a very real, tangible thing.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yes, because I'm in Japan and I had no idea and I have no chance to think about the money because Japanese yen is kind of stable, right? And then I got Bitcoin first time, and Bitcoin is just a very good solution for my donation platform because cheap gas fee, cheap fee. But after I involved more deep in the Bitcoin community and Bitcoiner, and I realized, so some people at the Bitcoin meetup, some people tear it up the money and burn it, and this is no value mine. And so I was surprised. I had no idea what's going on because never happened in my life. But that changed my mind a lot. After that, I think about what is the real value. Then, so if I put money in the bank, so now, unfortunately, Japanese yen lost the value, unfortunately. And sometimes I want to send Japanese yen to another country, but the bank said no, reject it. Then, what? Why? Because this is my money. Why you decide about my money? So yeah, this, how can I say, mindset, I changed a lot after I received Bitcoin.
So you realize you were not in control of your money.
No.
Thanks to Bitcoin. That's amazing. Thank you. So, thank you so much. Maybe, I mean, the topic of this was about self-governance, but I wanted to start around this because I think at the essence of self-governance is individual empowerment, is like this understanding of what is like, you know, where are the forces that are ruling you, where are the forces you want to drive, and in all these experiences, although all of you like got to Bitcoin for different reasons, some were activists, some were like, you know, in that place for a specific need or for a business opportunity or for a, you know, an analysis. At the end, what happened is like all of us started understanding the power we had as individuals, all of us understanding, you know, that we, as some of you said, is like we as individuals have the tools to transform society, that we are not passive, you know, individuals under the control of society. And self-governance starts there. It's like if you don't have that will to govern yourself, if you don't have the belief that you can, and I think Bitcoin again is the spark of faith, you know, it's like of hope that enable us to dream about being self-governed, about, you know, building the society we want to build, no? So, but in that context, you know, that we have the spark, we are fighting, working, you know, for that spark to become a big fire and transform society and enable self-governance. How do you see evolving, Bitcoin evolving beyond, you know, store of value and things? It's like, how do you think, you know, self-governance and different political models will be built around Bitcoin, or what will be the function of Bitcoin within that transformation of a self-governing society? If
Who
any,
starts?
maybe you don't see it. Yeah.
Who gets the? You want to start?
I mean, what is the role of Bitcoin in self-governance, in enabling self-governing society, self-governing?
It's hard to, for me, it's hard to give a straight definition. I see Bitcoin like a vacuum, no? Like a black hole. Yes, I see everything being attracted towards Bitcoin. I think I see Bitcoin being the best option out there for as a currency, and I think that all human relation and all the value that we create, yes, Bitcoin is in the core of this it stores the value, and once you store value, then you create all the transactions. Yes. So I think that first we will get a Bitcoin big and strong enough as a store of value, and from that, then we will start transacting all the other kinds of value on top of Bitcoin. So I think that somehow we first need to be this vacuum of value. Vacuum, aspiradora, ¿cómo se dice?
No, yeah, vacuum cleaner would
Vacuum
be...
cleaner,
vacuum cleaner, yeah.
Vacuum cleaner, qué sé yo. Bueno,
like
this
a vacuum cleaner of all the valuable things in the world. So in a way, what you're saying is like, without self-sovereignty in money or in store of value, there's no self-sovereignty in other areas. Somehow, that's what you're saying?
Yes, once we have this self-sovereign store of value, yes, as the real holder of value, then all our relations that had to do with value, yes, which are all the human interactions,
so that's so in a way it's an enabler for self-sovereign and self-governed societies. Thank you, Ro.
Yeah, I think Bitcoin is, what do I see? So I have these visions, right? So I see myself running through the woods with ripped up, torn up clothes, with robots after me, and some Bitcoiners, and a bunch of zombies that adopted the CBDCs and didn't fight the CBDCs, and they turned into trained zombies because they had to chase after me or else they couldn't eat. And the wallet that the government gave them knew that the accelerometer knew that they weren't running after me or whatever. And I see myself running through this maze with my friends, probably everyone on this stage, while they're trying to kill us, but we have the Bitcoin and we're trying to plant more seeds from the people that didn't listen to us when we were saying, oh, Bitcoin's wonderful, at every dinner party and everyone we met. And I spoke to hundreds of thousands of people at the center every day and pitched Bitcoin to them. And all these people, I was trying to, many people like, oh, yeah, and they're not really listening to you. But now, instead of the carrot, we got the stick. The CBDC's coming for your lunch, coming for your soul. Did you see Microsoft had some accelerometer that would mine Bitcoin the more you work, connected to your spine or some shit? It was a patent 60606. I don't know. But so what I'm saying is we have this little window of opportunity to save ourselves from this dystopian future that is coming. It's coming. It's coming. So everyone has to opt out of their bullshit and take down and give Bitcoin donations to the politicians that don't want the CBDCs and that promote Bitcoin. And then we'll say, oh, El Salvador adopted Bitcoin, but El Salvador doesn't have its own central bank, so it's pretty easy for El Salvador to adopt Bitcoin. Who the hell is going to adopt Bitcoin when they have their own shitcoin to push? That's not what's going to happen. They're going to have the CBDCs. They're going to give everyone $500 for free. Everyone's going to have the CBDC wallet. And as time goes by, the politicians are going to write software. They're going to get the coders to write software that are going to control us. If you start laughing when the politician's on TV, you're not going to eat for a week. They're going to shut your money down. So I see Bitcoin as the only thing that could save us. But the possibility is so tiny that we're going to survive, my friends. The possibility is so tiny. And I have this curse that I always see the future. As a matter of fact, I got cryptos.com in 2004. So I always see the future. I built Get a Room 1995, no more hotels, first Airbnb. I always see the future. It's a curse. Believe me, it's a fucking curse. And I see that we're gonna be fucked. And I don't think there's much we can do about it because you're all a bunch of pussies. Well, you're like the strongest ones of the pussies. You know what I'm saying? Me, I'm gonna die trying. Because God brought me here to fight. I opened up down there because Jesus went and smashed the money changers' tables, and I happen to be the only Byzantine general. I'm an archon of the Ecumenical Patriarchate of Constantinople. So I'm like the only Bitcoiner who's actually a Byzantine general. So I see it as my religion to fight the money changers to the death, because there were many messiahs. They didn't kill him. They even had one in Brooklyn that died on his own 20 years ago. But Jesus smashed the money changers, and at the end of the night, the 150 Sanhedrin didn't get their bag of gold and silver. And a few days later, you know, Jesus, they had to smash him along the stations of the cross throughout Jerusalem and ask, are you a follower of Jesus? Because all those people that followed Jesus wouldn't trade in their gold and silver for the wooden nickel, for the shekel, or I think it was they had the Zeus coin, which was a day's labor. Then they changed it to the Tyre coin, which they inflated. And then Jesus smashed them, and then they had to torture Jesus all over town, asking if you guys are going to give your gold and silver, right? You don't want to become like this guy. And then they crucified him. So I went downtown to the snake's den to flip the money changers' tables. And I hope you guys are religious enough to do the same.
It's hard to talk after you, Nick. I also like to think that I see future. My visions are not so surreal like yours, but I don't see future. I read future. I feel like I can read between the lines, and I believe that we are going towards some sovereign individual thesis. So I don't know how far we are from that point, and how long will be the transition phase. But I think we are going into some little bit Orwellian future where will be pockets of Bitcoiners all around the world. You can call it citadels. And those who will opt out from the system sooner will be much better positioned than those who will wait, because there might be not option to leave once will be too late. And yeah, so this is just the encouragement to maybe start sorting out your passports and ways how to escape the system.
So thinking about, you know, the future of Bitcoin. Is this on?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Bitcoin allows for a foundation of trustlessness. Like, you don't have to trust anyone to send, you know, Bitcoin on the network. But actually, if you think about it, that allows for another layer to be built on top of it, which is a layer where we do trust each other. We choose who we trust carefully, and that's based on reputation and how people act. And I believe that we are building that. We have been building that for the past 10 years in the Bitcoin space. I believe very firmly that Bitcoin owners will become the power brokers of the world in the future. They will become the most powerful people, not because they earned it, because they will have monetary power. Some of the very, very first Bitcoins in the world were mined here in Argentina, and I don't think that's a coincidence. You know, Bitcoin is a frontier money, a frontier technology. Argentina is a frontier country. Argentina was named after money. And so if we hear, you know, Nick and Matyas talk about difficult times ahead, I really think that Argentina could have an amazing role to play in terms of offering a place, becoming potentially a Bitcoin country where people can continue to build this web of trust. And so once again, that makes it really special for me to be able to speak here.
So after all these firebrands and one guy who has a hard time following a guy who has psychotic visions, I'm going to go and maybe be a bit more modern and say, you know, I don't think Bitcoin for most of the world actually changes things that much. I think it enforces the status quo. And the reason I say that is because most of the world, at least the sort of world we come from, lives in relatively reasonable countries. You know, our fiat currencies, they're not perfect, but they approximate the idea that you should be able to go send money to anyone you want. You know, they approximate the idea that you should be able to hold money and it shouldn't lose value quickly. Some do it better than the others. I mean, I've seen the graph of the Argentinian peso versus the US dollar, but a lot of the world lives in reasonable places. The problem that we have is the trajectory is worse. There are so many governments that are just terrible and so many forces at play to make things worse. I think the role of Bitcoin is much more about ensuring that we continue to live in places where you can, in fact, send money to who you want. You can, in fact, hold money and save. And what I see Bitcoin doing is just giving the tools to maintain that. Now, cryptography can do interesting things around like web of trust and so on. And, you know, some of those things are interesting, some of them are cool. But as much as us cypherpunks have always talked about web of trust and all these clever things, it all comes back to humans in the end for most things. Most things can't be automated. You know, sending money from one place to another can be automated. You can do that without trust. Determining whether or not, you know, you're actually good for a business deal is not something that can be easily automated. The best you can do is provide a communications medium, and that's why I think a lot of the more rosy views of like what Bitcoin can do are not actually going to come to play. Now, certainly, as an example, we might live in a world in the future where like Microsoft issues their shares through a RGB system maybe on the Bitcoin blockchain, but that doesn't fundamentally change what Microsoft is. They're still a trusted company who you're going to have a whole bunch of laws and whatnot to enforce them actually doing something vaguely approximating what a company is. You're not going to use crypto to magically turn that into an untrusted system where somehow some digital DAO thing does stuff. It's ultimately just humans. I can move the money around better, I can do better accounting, but there are limits to what tech can do. But doing better accounting, moving money around better, these are all things that keeps the world the way we want it to be kept, keeps things free, make sure that we don't have central bank digital currency, we don't have the accelerometer in, you know, in the back of our necks monitoring like, you know, how much physical activity we have.
You got one in your pocket.
Yeah, you know, that's a good thing. And yeah, that may not sound so revolutionary. Sometimes like maintaining the status quo in the face of adversity is actually kind of revolutionary.
Thank you, Peter. Mai, your thoughts?
Yes, so my comment is really simple because I amazed Bitcoin because like a payment as a payment system, and I really want to see the future. So everyone using Bitcoin as a payment, but almost here because many places we can pay Bitcoin, right? But after, how can I say, in these few years, so I want to see that every place is pay by Bitcoin. This is, I never change my dream, but this is one dream to see in the future.
Thank you. Okay, I think this was an amazing panel. I thank you all. I think very inspirational, and hopefully some of you will get inspired and will want to be part of this revolution. I think Bitcoin is a spark of hope in a world that otherwise might be becoming more and more oppressive. So, but we have an opportunity to fight for. So that's amazing. Thank you all.
Before going down, just 1 second. I wanted to thank two more people that are also OGs, which is Roselo and Alejandro Palanzas. They are the only two persons beyond Diego and me that have been coming to every single conference, La BitConf, since the first day, the first La BitConf to now. Inside, a ver si me equivoqué, para, dice todo mal.
Rodolfo, why I don't have a gift? I also been to all La BitConf.
No, porque vos no contás.
Come on.
Then okay.
This is unfair. Why
we're gifting them beyond the thing. We're gifting you 1 week, yes, an Patagonian experience that we will decide which one you want it to be, yes, for you and someone else. Okay.
Thank you. And you know, for you.
Thank you for coming and joining the BitConf. I guess if we put another talk, if they're still staying here.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing is, Roselo is an OG from Brazil.
Yeah,
and Alex, it's
from Greece.
Greek, but he has been in the Bitcoin world for many, many years as Nick. So this is amazing.
Thank you.
So a lot of OGs. Thank you so much.
Thank you.